Marco was a solitary marine biologist who spent his days reading about the ocean and nights dreaming of its secrets. He felt more comfortable with dolphins than with humans. After years of toiling, he was overjoyed when Big Fish Zoo purchased a rare albino dolphin named Nakoa. To Marco, Nakoa was more than an animal. He was an enchanted being who brought hope and delight into his otherwise isolated life each night. After closing time at the zoo, Marco would slip in through an opening in the fence simply to observe Nakoa swim. The white dolphin glowed with a soft ethereal light. His coat glimmered in the moonlight, making him appear unearthly. Marco derived solace in Nakoa's frolicking flips and soothing clicks, dreaming that the dolphin could sense his isolation. It was a stormy night and Marco did something reckless. He couldn't wait any longer to just watch Nakoa from afar. With a troubled conscience, he went up to a security guard named Frank, who had a passion for money. Marco bribed him with some cash and after some hesitation, Frank agreed to turn a blind eye. The instant Marco plunged into the water with Nakoa, it was paradise. The water was toasty, and despite the storm raging about them, it was calm. Nakoa swam circles around him, clicking with joy as if welcoming an old acquaintance. Marco grinned, finally free. The two played, spilling and twirling in the water. Marco felt a connection such as he had never experienced with any human. At last, Nakoa's aggressive behavior stopped, and the water settled. The staff sprang into action to get Marco out of the water. They escorted him to the tank edge, hoisting him into safety just in time as his vision began to blur. He could hear voices whispering, the sounds of panic and urgency all around him. The last thing he is aware of before passing out is a recognizable voice, Todd's, who was his friend and workmate who had been concerned about him for weeks. Weeks of healing in the hospital ensued. Marco underwent surgery to fix the damage on his leg. He spent most of the time gazing at the ceiling, contemplating the unusual connection that he believed he had with Nakoa. In the meanwhile, he got cards and visits from his friends and colleagues, most of whom were Todd, who remained by his side, inspiring him and encouraging him. Todd even joked with him about his brush with death with an angry fish. Just as he was slipping away, Marco noticed flickering lights looming over him. In the distance, a voice he knew pierced through. It was the zoo staff, hurrying to the rescue. They had been summoned by Frank, who had not expected Marco to end up in harm's way. Staff personnel came bearing tranquilizer darts, targeting Nakoa. Marco struggled to remain awake as he watched the dolphin twitch in the water, disturbed by the sudden presence. Marco learned more about Nakoa while Marco was recuperating. He found that the dolphin was a troubled history of trauma and abuse prior to coming to Big Fish Zoo. It was a strong reminder that although there were some gorgeous animals that could appear welcoming, they too had their own struggles. The more Marco knew, the clearer he understood Nakoa's aggression was a result of his suffering, not a demonstration of how he felt about Marco. One day, Marco, resting on a hospital bed, received a call. It was Frank, who worked at the security station. He appeared agitated, tapping one foot with the other. "I'm sorry it happened. I never imagined," he faltered. Marco shooed him away. "It's not your fault. I risked it myself. But there is something I want to ask you. Can you assist me?" Frank nodded eagerly. Frank was asked by Marco to help him visit Nakoa again after he had recovered. He wished to learn and perhaps repair their relationship. Frank agreed, realizing that perhaps, just perhaps, Marco could deliver a message to the damaged dolphin. Weeks later, once Marco had recovered, he went back to the zoo. The staff, particularly Todd, were understanding, knowing how much respect Marco had for the animals. He prepared himself for the meeting, both with fear and hope. Standing at the water's edge, Marco yelled for Nakoa. The dolphin surfaced, its body gliding smoothly through the waves. Marco dithered but was driven to get back in. Taking a deep breath, he plunged into the water, the familiar feel of it welcoming and intimidating. Nakoa emerged, its face reserved. Marco hovered there, with soft words. "I see now. You were afraid, you're in pain, and I didn't notice. I only wanted a friend, but I was wrong to assume you wanted me around." The dolphin watched him curiously, its hostility giving way to curiosity. Marco slowly held out his hand, palm up, attempting to bridge the gap from afar. Nakoa surprised him by positioning his boat closer, occasionally bumping his hand lightly with his nose before backing off. They floated wordlessly, the rhythm of the ocean soothing them, each burdened with their past but yearning for a new future. This time, there was no aggression, but understanding. Marco understood that what they shared was not possession or mistaken affection, it was respect and healing. They swam together, not as owner and pet, but as two souls looking for reassurance in an uncertain world. As Marco surfaced, he swam towards the shore, heart full of thankfulness. His adventure was not only about knowing Nakoa, it became about knowing himself, too. He came to realize that some relationships require time and patience, and love doesn't always equal without boundaries.